Hey guys, and welcome back to Live Well and Yoga. I'm your host, Christine Dumaual. This is a solo episode with yours truly. And in this episode, I just want to take it back to self care, which I feel like that's what I've been doing. I know it's been a quick minute. I just been taking time to just refuel and find that internal foundation, find that grounding. So much has happened this past year. Not necessarily so much has happened, but it's like new experiences, and I reflect on the goals I made for myself earlier in the year, and to see, okay, have I accomplished those goals, or have I even tapped into those goals, and how have I been progressing to achieve those goals or even maintain them if I have. And I feel like I'm coming along, stepping out of your comfort zone. At least for me, stepping out of my comfort zone isn't easy. So this year, I really wanted to focus on connection, whether it was nurturing the friendships I have, creating new friendships, meeting people, and even tapping into the dating world. And I mean, it took some time for the latter, just because it had been so long since. I mean, over the past several years, I have tiptoed around dating, and I even talked about it on one of my earlier episodes in season one. It's on Spotify. When I talked about it, I hadn't really started, I wasn't really in the process yet. I mean, I was tiptoeing around it, but now I feel like I've dove in. I just dove in. And just speaking from experience, I feel like if you are considering dating again after so many years, especially if you're in your 40s, I feel like just go for it. You're never going to be ready. Just surrendering to that experience and being open to things that are out of your comfort zone. I think you'll learn a lot about yourself. At least I did. And by the way, I'm not a specialist by any means. I'm not a therapist or any kind of counselor. If anything, I have my yoga certificate. I deepened my practice in during COVID and earned my 200 hours. But other than that, everything that I speak about is from personal experience. I've been through the highs and the lows, a roller coaster of emotions. So I just speak from my own experience. And one of the reasons I created, not just created this podcast, but titled the podcast Live Well and Yoga, was because I've been self caring for so many years and really dove deep into self care. And I think just kind of distanced myself from human connection, from friendships, from dating, from anything, because I didn't want my peace to be interrupted or disturbed. And I really felt aligned with just me and, practicing yoga in my place and just, you know, um, I was in my own comfort zone. But when you take those practices and put it into real life situations, whether it's with friends or even dating or just connecting with people, it takes on a whole new life. So it's like taking all that so all the things that you do when you self-care, you become this new person. So it's like taking this new version of you and putting it out there, not just putting yourself out there, but you're going to connect with like-minded people, with different people, but also it kind of tests what you've learned. Are you going to stick to that boundary? Are you going to are you going to speak up for yourself? Say you don't drink anymore. Are you going to say no thank you to alcohol? Like, it really tests all those things that you've learned, because if you're just self-caring in your room and just staying home, have a close friend over every now and then, it doesn't really keep you accountable, or it really doesn't take what you've learned into real life. And so that's what I really wanted to do this year. I mean, not that I've been a hermit crab over the past few years, but I really wanted to really take on who I've become into this, just into new connections. So that's a good thing. But I feel like next year I could just dive in a little bit more. Not just dive in a little bit more, but I mean, no, I'm not going to normalize all this because I think that's what I've learned. I've been listening to podcasts. We'll reach a milestone and we'll normalize things and not give ourselves credit. So you know what? I'm giving myself grace and I'm proud of even stepping into what I wanted to do for myself this year. Connecting with friends, nurturing friendships, creating new ones, and even diving into the dating world, which will hopefully be another episode, maybe the next one, because I find it so interesting. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, like Esther Perel, Matthew Hussey, Jay Shetty. I just been listening to a lot more podcasts, really focusing on human connection. And it's not just how someone else connects with me, but how I connect with them and emotions that surface when you put what you've learned from self-caring into real life scenarios, what the emotions that trigger and surface. Things are easier said than done, but when you're in a situation, it's like so hard to navigate sometimes and start to question things. But yeah, that's for another episode. It's like when you do self care and you realize, there are some childhood traumas that come to life and you work on them, you think that they're healed and they're taken care of. But when you interact with new people or even just with friendships or just, life, sometimes that that trigger or that insecurity will surface because you're now putting it into a new experience. So I mean, we're human and we all go through different emotions and we progress at different stages. And just writing out my thoughts and journaling at night has really helped me find clarity and just allows me to find that foundation from within, just knowing that, to give myself grace and knowing that I have worked on, that I'm doing the best that I can do, like for real, because truly we are doing the best that we could do for what we have in this moment of time. And I can totally be on a self care like high, and then I could just really step back and maybe take a pause and then I get back and then I take a pause. But I feel like I'm good now. I think it's just this time of year where when November, December comes and the weather changes, I just get into a mood like a really funky mood where I don't know if it's a funky mood. I don't really know if it's seasonal affective disorder or if it's just because it's so dark, maybe just a lack of vitamin D. I'm not too sure, but whatever it is, I mean, last year it was really bad. I allowed the feelings to take control. And this year I'm more self aware. So when I do get into that mood, I just self care. I start to write. I really focus on the good things that have happened this year and remind myself who TF I am. Just kidding. But really, you do have to remind yourself who the fuck you are because you have to give yourself grace and remember that you're doing things, I mean, to your capacity, but maybe even beyond your capacity. You know, you could be juggling multiple things, but at the same time, you're becoming a better version of yourself. So if in this moment, if you are feeling stuck or like, just in a bluesy mood, just remember all the things that you have done. Maybe write about it because truly you are doing all that you can do and you have to give yourself grace and sometimes just pause for a moment and self-care, whatever that may be, whether it is writing in your journal or taking a bath, going for a outdoor walk, whatever it is. But anyways, I went on a tangent for a moment. What was I talking about? I've learned a lot about myself because you could be self-caring and doing all the things for you and creating those boundaries and creating, really doing things that align with you and put it into action. You just see a whole new perspective when you combine it with whether it's with friendships or even dating and relationships. It's almost like maybe insecurities can resurface or things come to mind. It's easy to step out of the boundary because if you're just self caring and just kind of staying in your own bubble, you're not really taking accountability for certain things because you haven't put them into practice. So when you apply those things that you've learned and put them into real life, experience, like even whether it's with friends or dating, it really tests you to see what needs to be worked on, even though you thought you worked on some things, but some things can not just trigger, but just resurface and come to life. And through the connections and experiences with whether it is meeting someone new, a friendship, or a potential plus one, certain things come to life and you realize, okay, oh shit, I do need to work on some things. Or why am I stepping out of my boundary? Or what flow am I going with? What flow are you going with? You going with, a past flow? Like, are you, like, sometimes you might even see like you're repeating patterns and time to pause, and stop the cycle. Or, you know, realize that you're repeating a pattern, but not dive deep into it. I mean, we can have a whole other episode about dating and relationships because I feel like there's so much to talk about when it comes to that. There's all different kinds of dynamics and situations that come to life. But so yes, let's just take it back to self-care because so it kind of goes hand in hand. I feel like I've self-cared so much over the years that it helped me become who I am today. So I feel like all the self-care, the physical, mental, and spiritual wellness or healing I've done, it's changed, the things that I want. I reorganized my priorities and standards, and it's not like they're on a list. I feel like as you self-care and give back to yourself, you elevate yourself over time. It's the progression. It's who you become after all this self-care work. And you just change, like your perspectives change and your values change. So if you are, you could be self-caring on your self-care journey, maybe starting it, maybe you want to start it in the new year, but why not start it now? I don't see why you wouldn't want to start it now, but you might think like, okay, so much is happening, but so much more is going to happen in the new year. So might as well just start self-caring now, give back to yourself, because if you do it now, by the time the new year comes, you'll feel a lot better and you'll be a little bit more energized and may not back out of it because sometimes New Year's resolutions don't work. So maybe just start it. It's a lifestyle. If you're going to self-care, it's not just going to be a 60-day thing, a 90-day thing. I'm going to do this and that for, 6 months and it's going to end. It's going to continue. And I wouldn't even look at the 6-month mark or the year mark, just start, because when you just start, you increase your endurance, you increase, that you build upon that internal foundation. So as you just say you start a yoga class or maybe start doing morning walks, you're building that endurance inside and you're strengthening yourself from within. So as you continue to do that, you're in a way increasing, I guess, that internal strength. So you're going to keep wanting to do it and you're going to be stronger. So then you're going to be able to take on more as you progress. And that's the beauty about self-care. I talked about this with Sachel. It's like when you self-care and do things for yourself, things just magically unfold. You may want to lose 10 pounds, but as you maybe 10 pounds, maybe gain some endurance, whatever it is. If nutrition is, say, one of your things that you want to work on for the new year, or now, and say you have a sweet tooth, like I have a sweet tooth. I love cookies. I love baked goods. And if that's something you want to weed out of your diet, I would just suggest maybe adding more greens, like more vegetables and fruits to your your diet. I'm just calling it a diet. Like it's not necessarily go on a diet, but I would just add more veggies and fruits to your diet. And then, you feel the benefits of that. You feel the benefits of eating healthy that eventually the sweets you'll lessen the amount of sweets just because you'll feel the benefits of eating, the vegetables and all the fruits. And you'll even feel more full, I think. I think so. But, it's not about withdrawing from something because that could lead to a withdrawal, but adding more veggies and fruits to your diet. And then eventually the cravings for sweets, I feel like will just kind of die off. So it's not really about taking things away, but just adding more foods with nutritional value to each of your meals, and then you'll see that maybe you won't want that cookie. I mean, it's not about not having one. Like I'll have a cookie occasionally, but yeah. So I think it's just about adding healthy foods to your meals, and then you'll see that you'll eventually, you know, eat less sweets. And maybe it's fitness that you're wanting to get into this year. And it's not just about going to the gym, signing up for the membership and, finding a personal trainer. Sure, you can do that, but I think there's a gradual progression. Maybe just start off with morning walks. Those morning walks, if you're consistent with it, it builds that endurance and it builds that internal strength so that you can take on the next thing. Or, you can just go for it, go to the gym, but of course, don't compare yourself to others. They may have been working out for some time, but go at your own pace. And you know, everything is like anything is good. Just baby steps. Baby steps are, everything is progression because in each baby step is leading you towards that ultimate goal, whatever that may be. But and then just don't forget to give yourself grace. But yeah, if you're thinking about starting self-caring, whatever that is to you, why not just start now? Because it is a lifestyle. It's going to be part of your lifestyle, and it may be unfamiliar to you now, but at one point, if you are consistent with it, it's going to be familiar that you won't be able to live without it. Like it's kind of like just getting ready in the morning, washing your face. It's going to be part of your morning or evening routine, or giving back to yourself. You build that internal foundation. I always talk about this internal foundation because it is kind of like internal validation. Rather than finding external validation from other people. Just finding that validation within yourself. It really truly builds not necessarily like your confidence, but it adds confidence. But you create the boundary. You create, you go for things that align with you. You start to know who you are. What you want when it comes to whatever it may be. What you want in a friendship, what you want in a relationship, where you like to eat, things, just anything, like what activities you like to do. You'll learn so much about yourself when you give back to yourself. And when you give back to yourself, it's what you truly want inside. And so that those things will connect you to your social circle, to new people, to new relationships, to new friendships. So kind of connecting all this to my goal for this year was connection. And so when you give back to yourself, you're learning so much about you that when you do that, you're now going to attract like-minded people. You're going to attract things that align to you, and that whatever that could be, you're going to narrow down, activities that you like to do, and maybe even open up to things that you haven't tried before, because the people that you meet, they'll be aligned with you, and maybe there's something that they like to do that they'll introduce you to. And so you could learn so much through that way. Like the people you meet could be a vessel to something else because, if you have the same interests, maybe you just haven't explored that area, but that person who has the same similar interest as you, that same kind of energy as you, will lead you to the next thing. So when you give back to yourself, you learn so much about you, and then you'll connect with like-minded people that can introduce you to other things that you haven't explored before. So I feel like just self-care opens up the doors to so much, like whether it's being creative, to creativity, whether it's to new connections, whether it is to a new relationship, maybe it's exploring other branches in your job. Just self-caring just builds that internal foundation, and truly you learn so much about yourself and you become this new person. You know, you've heard so many times, you know, you become, well, let's meet the best version of ourselves. Let's meet a better version of ourselves. But truly, who is that? And you'll find that person when you give back to yourself. You know, it's like, it's almost like we'd rather settle for familiar chaos because we know we'll survive, even though it causes so much pain. But we won't tap into unfamiliar peace because we don't know if we'll survive because we don't know the outcome. You know, it's an unknown that we haven't discovered before or haven't experienced. So when we don't know something, it almost feels like we won't survive because we haven't experienced it yet. And even if it was like a chaotic experience, you know that you can make it through. If there's a situation or just your current situation, maybe it's not the greatest, but you know you'll survive. You may be in survival, you know, mode, and you know you'll survive. You'll find a way out, and then but with surrendering to unfamiliar peace, maybe it's an area that you haven't tapped into before, so it's you shy away from it. But if it can give you that peace of mind and align you with things, it's like, why not? You know, like it can just, it's on the other side. It's actually right in front of you. It's not even on the other side. It's right in front of you, but it's like, you just gotta jump over like this line, like, and just do it. You know, I've jumped over the line and I've met a better version of myself. I feel like I could say that me compared to 7 years ago is a completely different person. But I feel like I'm always evolving and there's always something to learn about yourself through these connections. So I feel like self-care and human connection, you know, they do go hand in hand. You can self-care and give back to yourself, and then through that you can find you can connect with people that align with you. And then through those connections, you then explore other options just because you are connecting with people on the same vibration, if that makes any sense at all. But it truly starts from giving back to yourself, because I remember, for example, years and years ago, I went through this breakup and I was probably the lowest, not probably, I was the lowest version of myself. And friends would tell me, you deserve so much more. And yeah, I deserve so much more, but I was internally the worst version of myself. Could you imagine this fragile me, like physically fragile because I had lost so much weight, and internally so weak to meet someone who would have been, say the person of my dreams, the person that I deserved. I wouldn't, I mean, I wouldn't have known what to do. I would have probably, my insecurities probably would have surfaced even more if the man of my dreams stood before this weakling that I was, you know, after this breakup. I would have crumbled. You know, I wouldn't have been able to even have a conversation with this person. So it's like, as much as I know my friends were just wanting me, they saw, I mean, yes, we all deserve what we deserve. We deserve so much more, but we have to know that we deserve more. And we can give, by giving back to ourselves, that's what's deserving. So you have to know that, I mean, note to self too, that I'm deserving and you're deserving of so much more, but you have to give back to yourself because you deserve to give back to yourself. You deserve peace of mind. You deserve mental and physical wellness and good health. You deserve all of those things, but it all starts with you, and you have to start that. And when you do that, it really reflects from the inside out, and people will see it. People will be attracted to it and go, "What is she up to? What's going on with her?" And then, you can only share what you've done, and whether they do it or not, it's up to them. But again, it's all up to them and it's all up to you. So giving back to yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually, I would just start now. Whether it's like a 30-minute walk in the morning, that could lead up to something else come the new year. Take that yoga class. You never know. By the new year, you might want to have a membership. Or you may even want to deepen your practice and get certified. You never know what will lead to, but you have to just start and give back to yourself. And then when you give back to yourself, that's when you can create all those, you can it'll attract people to you. Like literally, it will unfold and attract people to you. And you will go beyond your checklist because when you give back to yourself, it just seriously magically unfolds. I can't repeat that enough, but if you're consistent with it, you don't know what the outcome is going to be, and that's the beautiful part because it's going to be beyond your wildest dreams, like for real. Like 7 years ago, I wouldn't have imagined. I mean, like if I feel like I'm normal now, but if I were to meet the person I was 7 years ago, I would want to just give her a big hug because I don't know what I put myself through, but I put myself through a lot of BS and things that just unwanted BS, like so many negative thoughts. And, I wasn't seeing a perspective. I wasn't seeing what I was giving into the relationship or friendship. I wasn't seeing things, it just wasn't, that wasn't, that was a version of me, but it's not the version of me now. But just giving back to yourself opens up so much mental clarity and peace of mind and really connects you to the people who are supposed to be in your life. So anyways, so yeah, if you are thinking about starting a fitness plan, eating healthy, changing your diet, whatever it is, I would just start now. Just start now, just little baby steps. And then by the time the new year comes, you're going to feel so much better so then that you could take it on and tackle it. And one of the quotes that I live by Jim Rohn, he's a motivational speaker, and I've mentioned him many times in prior podcasts, is work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And seriously, when you do that, work harder on yourself than you do on your job, you'll eventually become a better worker. Not necessarily has to do with professional job, but it could even be like your personal things such as friendships and relationships. So yes, take the time to self-care because you never know who you'll meet on the other side. So anyways, and it's about giving yourself grace, whatever you're going through, it's been a year of new experiences, whether good or bad, and just taking this time of the year to reflect and take it all in and look at all the positive things that have come from it. Whether you see it as a challenge, maybe taking this time to see those challenges as opportunities to grow and maybe redirect the path if needed. It was fun chatting. And if you guys have any questions or would like to chat about some other topics, please let me know in the comments. And so that is all I have for this episode. I hope to, I do want to be more consistent with my podcast. I do want to have a chat about relationships and just connecting and dating, maybe on the next one. So until then, you guys live well and, of course, yoga. Bye.